We're all about the Archers. I'm Philippa.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie.
And this is a bookish bonus episode because we're here to talk about the book that cannot be named, Lark Rise to Candleford. Have you got your copies with you, girls?
I've got my unfinished copy.
Yeah. We're going to get through this somehow. So yeah, today we're talking about the book. I've got some questions and we're just going to see where it takes us. So my first question is about how you read the book, not what you thought of it, how you read it. Were you reading it on the Kindle as an audio book? What did you do? Lauren, how did you read this book?
Well, I have got this beautiful, and it really is beautiful, you've got it too, Philippa, Macmillan's Library Collector's Edition. Ready for the gasp? Gold edges. Gold edges. Like, it really is beautiful. Little ribbon bookmark, as you can see, which hasn't quite made it the whole way to the end there. And this beautiful, I mean, look at that. Screaming autumn, isn't it, that?
Yeah. Lovely. So
absolutely
you read the
gorgeous.
book.
But this is a visual for the YouTubers having a little look at the old front cover.
Okay, and let's ask, so was it an easy read, and did you reach the end? I think you're hinting that you didn't quite reach the end, Lauren.
Philippa, Katie, I did not reach the end. I tried so hard. So, listeners, when Philippa proposed this, if you don't know me, I've got a whole entire YouTube channel dedicated to reading, and quite often I have to get certain books read by certain times. And Philippa said to me, will you have this read by Wednesday when we're recording it? I said, Philippa, of course I will. I do this all the time. And I am on page of 670 something. I'm on page 464. So no, I didn't get to the end.
Oh,
Hands
dear.
up.
Disgraceful. Katie, what about you? How did you read it, and did you finish?
Well, I decided to go for a vintage copy. So I got it off a second-hand website, and it's been in someone's bath. So it's got stains everywhere and marks everywhere, including my own marks now. I'm not sure if I had a shorter version or just smaller print, because mine was 537 pages. I'm going with
I'd almost
print.
be there if I had 537 pages.
But you've tabbed yours up, Katie. You've tabbed yours. People that are listening to this can't see, but she's put lots and lots of tabs into this.
Listen to this SMR.
Oh.
That's all the tabs. So yeah, I love a bit of stationery. So I've gone for little otter tabs, because I thought that was kind of countryside theme. I don't know.
I would agree.
But yes, so I read it. Yeah.
Well, I started off reading it and then I panicked because I thought I'm not going to get the time to finish it. So I got the second book. 'Cause there's 3 books in the one that we've been reading.
Yeah.
So the second book I got as an audio book and listened to it quite fast. But for various reasons, at the end of that, thought I don't want to waste another Audible credit on getting the third book. So then I opted to just sit down, and I wasn't allowed to stand up again until I had finished it. So, yes.
The second and third books are the same length as the first book. So once you've done the first and second book, you're almost there.
Yes.
And also, to be fair, the beginnings of the second and third book, well, they're just recapping all the stuff that you already know anyway. So you could have skipped that bit. I could have skipped that bit.
Okay, let's get into your overall thoughts then. Katie, tell us what you thought.
Well, as I've been reading it, I've been trying to explain it to people, and I can't, because while there was no plot, it was weird.
Plot.
There was just no plot, but I also couldn't put it down. And it was just like, I'm actually quite enjoying it, but there's nothing. And I don't know, because people would be like, oh, is it good? What are you reading? What's it about? And I was just like, I don't know. It's about the countryside in the 1880s and 1890s, but I can't tell you any more than that. But I did enjoy it. And I feel like it would have been a good nighttime book. If I was doing a chapter before bed every day, it'd be quite nice.
Send you to sleep.
Yeah, what did you think?
Well, I think you've been extremely generous. That's summing up. But I do get what you mean. It says at the top that it's a semi-fictional account of what's going on, and I feel like that lent to there not being much plot, because it hovered somewhere between fiction and non-fiction, didn't it? when I thought we'd be hearing about Laura, I was like, great, I can get behind hearing about one particular person, and felt like maybe it was going to be a bit coming of agey, because the bits that I'd heard being spoken about on the Archers, I was like, yeah, I can get into this. And I'd seen a clip of the TV show at some point. Did either of you watched it? I think it had Dawn French in or something, didn't it?
A long time ago,
Yeah,
I
it
think
did.
I've watched it.
And I remember the young actress that was playing Laura in that, and I thought, yeah, I can get behind this. But, oh my God, it was hard to keep attention. And I was thinking about the people in the Archers who had been reading it, and I was like, would Chelsea really have her attention taken by something like this? I don't think so. Like, it's a hard to get yourself back into it. Once I was in it and I was reading it, I was like, yeah, this is fine. But every time I had to return to it, I was like, oh God. And I didn't feel like it. But that's not to say it's all bad. I really liked the sort of seasonality of it. I'm very into seasonal parts of books, and I loved hearing about the seasons, and there was lots of bits in it that reminded me of the Archers, words that I hadn't heard outside of the Archers, like rickyard and things like that. So was into it, but overall for me, thumbs down. Philippa.
Well, I love the Archers. I love the quaintness about it. I grew up in a village in the middle of the countryside, and so there was a lot going for it in this book. And when I sat down and started it, I was like, yes, I am here for this. But I thought it was an introduction, and I kept waiting for the story to start, and it felt like it was 700 pages of introduction. And when I've read non-fiction, there's a story to it. Even though it's non-fiction, there is some structure and just the story builds. Whereas this was my thought for today. It had stories, but it wasn't a story.
Oh. Mind blown.
This is why she's got this podcast.
No, it zipped about. 1 minute you're reading something really happy, and then she says, "Oh, but he ended up dying," and then she carries on.
Yeah,
just like, hang on a minute, no. And I'd
written down the word wafty. I felt like it sort of wafted from like one bit to another bit, and I was like, oh, but I actually do want to hear about Laura and Edmund. Like, I actually, or stay with the group of older ladies for a bit. Let me have that, and they would take it away. And it never. Yeah. I think describing it as an introduction, that it really does read like a 700-page introduction.
And I don't want to read
it
anymore.
Yes. She'd kind of talk about Edmund and then just suddenly be like, oh yeah, and he died.
Yeah.
And then they'd be talking.
And then she went back
to
it.
They'd be talking about bits. Yeah, be talking about bits and everything. And then just like, oh yeah, but they died. And they moved away. And then talking about something really in detail about their house or what they were wearing or doing. And then it's like, yeah, but they're not here anymore. And then like, okay.
The glimmers of that were good though. So like the actual announcement of Edmund's death, I thought that was done really well, because they're talking about the church and the sort of monument and the names of the people that they lost in the war. And then the last line is like, and Edmund's name was there. And I was like, oh my God, that's so tragic. That was the end of the first book. Then we're next into it and they're like, Laura and Edmund were walking down the road one day. Drag it in. I was like, well, give me time to grieve, rather than we're back onto Edmund's not even dead.
But I know what I'm going to get you lot for Christmas, because did you know that there's a 4th book?
Oh, God, is there?
That would
Heatherly.
be marvellous.
There's a book
Thank
called
you
Heatherly.
so much.
And it's still available.
Nice.
I'm moving, so don't post it to me. I am moving house.
Okay, well, in true tradition, faves and flops. Katie, were there any particular faves or flops that you can recall?
I think my fave bit, I quite liked all the post office bit. I was enjoying all the kind of, she was going more into story at that point, I thought, where she was talking about the people that were living with her and the people that were coming into the post office and the people of the village. I felt like that was a little bit where the story got going. And that's something that I probably would have liked a whole book of. I would have quite liked to read about the post office. That was quite cool. Yeah. I quite liked all of that bit, but that was about it.
So that was a phase. Any particular flops with all your tabs that you can recall?
Well, yes, none of these are flops. So no, this is the thing. I can't put my finger on it why I liked it, but it was not downable, whatever that word is. I could put it down, but also I didn't hate it, and that's why I finished it. I think because I was at my lunch break at work today. I was like, I must finish this book. Do not talk to me.
Amazing.
I managed to get it done at lunchtime today, and yeah, and I can't put my finger on any flops. I don't think. But apart from the lack of storyline, which is quite a major one for a book.
Lauren, what about you?
Well, faves, as I said, I love the seasonality of it, but some particular faves. There was a whole chapter which was sort of dedicated to celebrations, and I loved reading that. I love anything about Christmas. That's the main. I'd say 90% of my personality is she loves Christmas. So I liked hearing about that, and I liked hearing about Harvest Festival, particularly because that's what's happening in the Archers at the moment. And I loved hearing about the food they were cooking for those things, and how the day would look, and how the men were off work and stuff like that. So I was into that a lot. There was also a chapter 7, called Callers, which was about sort of travelling salespeople that would come their way through the village. And a particular highlight of that was the lavender bark. Do you remember that part? Where there's a woman who's like, oh, and I've got this lavender bark and it smells gorgeous of lavender and I've had this for 8 years and it still smells of lavender. And I was thinking, lavender bark? Lavender doesn't have bark. And anyway, turns out she's got some bark. She's dripped a little bit of lavender oil on it. They said she barely even left the driveway and it had stopped smelling of lavender. But I quite liked those sort of like little, almost like gossipy little pieces. I liked those bits. In terms of flops, much the same as Katie, like there's nothing I can sort of grab hold of and be like, oh, I really didn't like this character, because we never spent enough time with the characters to form an opinion, really. Same as sort of like plot points. I didn't really like the waftiness of it, like where we were sort of in a little bit and then would leave. And I just wanted more of one particular person. I would have done anything to have a little bit more with one person. Yeah, the writing style, I don't think it sits well with me. What about you, Philippa?
Yeah, I love the reference to Laura and Edmund wanting to set up home together and eat lots of treacle tart. I was like, yes, I'm in for that. That's sat very well with me. And my favourite bit was the last sentence of the book, which is probably the wrong thing to say.
I haven't got that far yet. Spoilers. Let me have a look now.
I'm going to read it now. But the threads that were to bind her to her native county were more enduring than gossamer. They were spun of love and kinship and cherished memories. And that, for me, that's what the
lovely.
Archers is. Yeah, I thought that was a love. So I liked the last sentence. I thought that was really good.
Do you think it was worth the 700 pages to get to that last sentence?
Well, I'll never forget reading this.
That's true.
It's memorable. The lamb's tail pie reference, though, that was something that perplexed me. Because she went around to her friends and had to eat this pie. I don't know if you've got there yet, Lauren, with the lamb's tails in. What part of the lamb's tail can you eat? Because it's wool or just the tailbone. I didn't understand. And in the Archers, they've gone on and on about the killing of the pigs. A lot of people have spoken about that. So when I read the section, I thought, there must be a lot more about the killing of pigs, because it was just a couple of paragraphs. It was over before I knew it.
And it was right near the start. I also thought, they must have kind of read quite a lot of the book. And I think it was like page 20 or something. I was like, what? I thought you'd been reading this for ages.
No, that's true.
Okay, so have either of you listened, because we're recording this after the first episode of Lark Rise to Ambridge, but before the second part on Sunday. Have either of you listened to that, or have you been very focused on finishing the book or not finishing it for Lauren?
Pure focus, would you say, Katie?
Yes, pure focus. All the focus.
Well, to be fair, I didn't want to confuse myself, and I don't think it would have happened now, knowing that there's no plot. But for the same reason I didn't listen to it on audio, I didn't want to get myself listening to it when I'd heard parts of it on the Archers. Maybe I was planning on listening to that. I just wanted to stay pure text until it was done. So that's coming for me.
Well, I would say...
I've got it lined up as well.
Fair enough. Well, I would say if you get all the best bits of the book and trim it down to 1 hour or maybe 2 hours. That's it. It's all you don't need to read the book. You just need to listen to Lark Rise to Ambridge. I thought it was beautiful. It's got some music in it.
Oh.
It's got some more text about the characters in Ambridge as well. I just thought it was beautifully done. And if anyone's thinking, oh, I've listened to Lark Rise to Ambridge, now I should get Lark Rise to Candleford, I would say, you don't need to. You don't need to.
You said the best bits. Don't bother.
There's going to be
else.
There's going to be a lot of charity shops filled to the rafters with copies of this book pretty soon.
I don't know if I can part with mine though. It's just so pretty and just like when I was holding it, Philippa, did you feel like you were in like an Austen novel or something? Because it's just so cute and little, isn't it? I felt like I was like away in a little nook while Mr. Darcy was giving me longing looks as I sort of tried to busy myself reading. Did you feel like that?
I felt I needed to go to the opticians because the writing was so small.
And the pages are so thin.
Yes. Okay, well, this leads on to my next question. And Katie, I'll ask this to you first. What would you do? Would you give the book to someone else and recommend they read it? Would you keep it and read again? Or would you recycle? So recommend, read again, or recycle?
I will definitely keep it, but I'm going to recommend that my mum reads it because I think she will enjoy it at a slower pace and not you have to read it within a week. So I will give it to her, but I will want it back. I do quite like it. I like the little journey we've been on trying to read the book and the link with Ambridge and everything. So no, I'll keep it. I will definitely keep it and I'll have it back. And also I've scribbled all over it so no one's going to want it.
Oh.
Lauren, what about you?
Well, I've said it's a beautiful little copy, isn't it? I've already acted out my Elizabeth Bennet bit with it, and I don't think I can part with it. But yeah, I don't think I'll be rereading it. Now you've said all the wonderful words about the actual Lark Rise to Ambridge episode, I think that's where I'll be going in terms of getting hold of my Lark Rise fix. So yeah, I'll keep it, but it's just purely aesthetic for me.
Yes, I'm the same actually. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I'd recommend people listen to Lark Rise to Ambridge. But I do want to keep hold of it because now the memories and the exchange of voice messages that we've had this week, the three of us, has just been hilarious. So yes, I've got fond memories of the experience, if not the book. But I can understand why they chose to do this with Ambridge. You know, if someone came up with the idea of let's dramatise it, where would it sit on Radio 4? It naturally leads itself to Ambridge. So
yeah,
I get it.
Absolutely, I agree. And like I said, there was words that I was reading in that book that I hadn't really experienced in other places apart from the Archers. So like I can completely see the link. I just, like, going back to my first point, I just really can't see this taking the attention for such a long time of characters like Jazza, like Chelsea, like Emma even. Like I just can't see people really linking with it that much. So they've done well to get them that
What was the
interested.
audiobook like?
It was narrated better than I thought it would be, actually. But I did have it on quite a fast speed just because I had to get through it. So there was no... Yes. There was no time to reflect. It was just, right, come on, Philippa, pay attention, pay attention. But no, it was nice. It was perfectly nice. So if you could say to someone, if someone said to you, I've only read a few chapters, which I think that's what quite a few people have done, should I carry on? Katie, what would you say?
I would say it's a nice, as I said, a nighttime book if you want to go to sleep. It's kind of a nice wind down book. Probably a polite way of saying it. But yeah, there's lots of other books that I would read during the day and yeah, read quicker, I think. Is that polite? Lauren?
I would say, if however you're feeling about it now, lock in, because it just stays at that monotonous level of farming for 700 pages. So if you're thinking, yes, I'm absolutely loving this, great, you're going to love the rest of it. If you're thinking, what? Then you're going to feel what about the rest of it. So however you felt about those initial chapters, longevity, because that's how you're going to fit it. Nothing really changes, does it? There's not like a little plot twist and then we don't. It's just the whole way through.
Yeah, and there are other books that
Definitely
this mentioned, like Cranford, like Anthony Trollope, that I would say, I mean, I love Anthony Trollope, so books like that would have much more of the time, but also
Yeah.
a story,
Mm.
which is helpful. But anyway, well, final question. In some cases, you finished or you soon will finish the book. What are you going to read next? What's next on the list?
I've got my Adele Parks next because I do love her books. So yeah, I'm going back to Adele Parks. Great
Which
storyline,
one?
plot twists, things happen. I was halfway through one. I'm trying to remember which one it was, and I put it down to read this. Can't wait to get it back up. Oh, it was called Image of You. It was an older one, but yeah, Image of You.
What genre is Adele Parks, Katie?
Well, I always thought she was chick lit, kind of nicey kind of stories, and someone gave me one of her books in lockdown to read. And it's great. There's loads of like little twists and it's a bit thrillery and there's things happening and it's not what you'd expect. And yeah, there's always something different happening and she'll write each chapter from a different character's point of view kind of thing. So yeah, I do like her stuff. It's just really fast paced and has a story.
Anything's going to seem fast paced after this.
Yeah, I'll be like, whoa!
Too much plot, too much plot!
I can't go.
You have to start meditating when you read the next book to try and calm down.
Chill out.
Lauren,
well,
what about you?
I'm about to start Johannes Radebey's memoir, Johannes Radebey from Strictly Come Dancing. I'm excited to hear about that. I love Strictly Come Dancing, so anything sort of related to it. But his background is very interesting. He's from a small township in South Africa, and we're going to hear about how he got into dancing in a place which is unusual for dancing to happen. But also, in terms of plot, I've got the new Kate Atkinson short story collection, and I thought, short stories, there's going to be plot in there, isn't there? So yeah, I think it's called Normal Rules Don't Apply.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of those two for me. What about you, Philippa?
Well, I've gone for something completely different that I would never have thought of reading, but it's in contrast. I'm holding it up. And it's a Stephen King book, Carrie.
Again, plotty and fast-paced.
I am loving it. There are things are happening. There are characters that I can believe in and care about. And there's action. And yes, I'm surprised at myself. I'm really enjoying it. But there we go.
It's a very enjoyable read. And also, doesn't he write teenage girls very well? For a man who is not a teenage girl. Like, he does it well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to read more of his. I think I need to, read different types of books. So there we go.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that you've enjoyed our little bookish bonus episode. I don't know if you had one word to sum up this book. What would you say? I can't even think of a word.
Just say different, because it's totally different to anything I've ever read and probably will ever read again. So yeah, different for me.
Lauren?
I think I'd go with repetitive.
I'd say quaint. No story, but
Nice.
quaint.
Ah, that's cute.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. Nice. Yeah, that's probably another good word.
Yeah.
But there we go. We will be back on Tuesday night after the episode of The Archers on Tuesday. And it will be all four of us. We will allow Quentin to join us. He opted out of this one. He left it to us girls. But the four of us will be there on Tuesday.
Well done, Quentin.
Yes, he knew what he was doing. Wise man. But no, thanks so much for joining us today. And we'll see you again on Tuesday. So from all of us, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.